guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, finishing up our 11th year homeschooling. If you are not subscribed, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified of all of my future videos. Today, I am going to be doing my monthly homeschool update, so let's get started. If you have been watching any of my videos recently, you will know that March was the longest month. It was so long and we kind of hit a block. We needed a break. So we did end up taking a week off in March, which was really nice. It was nice to have a week off. We never take time off in the winter, spring. Usually that break between Thanksgiving and New Year's is plenty for us to power through the end of our homeschool year. This year it was not. And at the beginning of March, I was definitely stressed. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself because I wanted to make sure that I would get a good deal on curriculum. And so I felt like I really needed to focus on what I wanted to buy for curriculum for Emma for next year. And that was a little stressful because there were only a few days that Sunlight did their 30% off all subject packages right at the beginning of March. And so at the end of February, beginning of March, I was doing so much reading and research on what I wanted to do for Emma for next year. And it was a little bit challenging just based on how we have done homeschooling right along. We always have just purchased the next level. But now that Emma is in the high school levels, we've already finished level 100 and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. I originally had thought that we were going to do the history of the Christian church, which we may still add in. I'm not really sure. So I did end up buying a lot of books from Sunlight for next year. I have a Sunlight unboxing. If you want to see it, I will leave a link in the description box. But I was definitely stressed at the beginning of the month. And I think that it's just the whole going into high school and making sure that I have transcripts prepared. Emma has already done a bunch of high school level classes and I have not put them on a transcript. I worked through a lot of that in March to figure out what exactly I wanted to do, how I wanted to show the credits that she has done already, and writing course descriptions, all of that stuff. It was definitely challenging. We were doing really well in March. We were right on track with our school. I was able to go through and figure out all of the things that we needed to complete for the end of our year. We're year-round homeschoolers. We start new curriculum usually at the end of July, beginning of August. And so our last day of school is actually like 5 days. We have like 5 days left of school to meet our 175 day count, which is a requirement in Maine. And I just wanted to make sure that we were on track with all of the things that we need to do. We are pretty much on track. There is a few other things that we need to finish up, but we will be done and wrapped up everything by the end of April, which is really great. I was worried because the fall was so busy. The kids had been sick so much over the winter that I really felt like we were falling behind, but we didn't. So that was good. I felt a lot better after I did that. And you can actually see, if you watch the videos that I posted from the beginning of March to the end of March, you'll see how tired I looked. It was because I was sick, the kids were sick again. It was just never ending. So March was really good. We stayed on track, but it was really challenging because we were all burnt out. And typically that doesn't happen for me. It hasn't really happened in the past decade of homeschooling because we take that time off around the holidays, and so we're usually really refreshed. But this year we did hit a little bit of a stress point, and so taking the week off was good. I ended up focusing a lot on home projects and some big cleaning things that I hadn't really had the time to do because we were so focused on homeschooling. And so that was, good and bad, but I feel so much better now in April going into the last few weeks of our homeschool year. And making some decisions about homeschool curriculum for next year. So I'm feeling so much better. That week off was definitely needed. And so if you ever feel like you are stressed or burnt out, it is okay for you to take some time off. I'm giving you permission if you feel like you need somebody to give you permission. I was kind of like, well, why do I want to take a week off when we only have a couple of weeks left of school? But I really needed that week, and coming back refreshed after that week off and knowing what we have to do to complete the rest of our year and just having a little bit more motivation will help us to be able to finish the year strong, and that is really important to me. So March was the longest month, but it was also a really productive month. I did not finish any read alouds with the kids this month. We are on the last History of Science spine right now. We're almost done with that. We are reading a book called Bomb, which is all about creating the atomic bomb. It's really interesting. It kind of reads like a spy novel, so my kids are really enjoying that. We did actually finish one book. Stuff Matters is the name. I don't have any of the books right here, so I will put pictures. It was a good book. I thought it was interesting. The kids thought it was a little bit dry. The chapters were really long and not really connected to one another. It was like more like short stories. So it took me a little bit of time to get through each chapter, and the kids were kind of like, I'm not really that interested. So we did finish Stuff Matters. That was probably my least favorite book that we have done in the entire Sunlight Level J History of Science program. So, but I've loved all of the other books, so I'm not sure if that's really saying that much. I think that was the only book that we finished. I'm still reading The Phantom Toll Booth to the kids. We started that at the beginning of the month, and it's actually not a very long book, but we were dragging at the beginning of the month, and then when we took a week off, I didn't do any homeschool related stuff with the kids at all. They just mainly were helping me do home projects and spring cleaning, which is still going to continue into April. I realize I need a lot more time for my spring cleaning and decluttering projects, which you will see in my goals video if you're interested in that. So overall, March was challenging, but it was also encouraging to know that even though I felt so burnt out and stressed over the past several months because the kids kept getting sick, we were still getting our school done. And I know that's mainly because we didn't have any outside things going on. So even though we weren't doing like a lot of fun activities outside of the house, we were able to get through our school because we didn't have anything else going on. So it was like the kids are sick and we're still able to do school, but nothing else. Which is probably why we were burnt out. So going into April, we're finishing up the History of Science. We're finishing up our read alouds. Emma, I've said this several times, has some Spanish left to do, and she's doing a research paper that won't be done until the end of April, most likely. And then my kids are doing California Achievement Test. Jack and Lucy have already finished their tests. Emma has not. I'm hoping that she will be able to get to it this next week, but we've had other stuff for her to really focus on, so I haven't taken the time to set her up for that test yet. But Jack and Lucy are done. Jack is pretty much done with all of his school. He's been working through the math book, Everything You Need to Know About Math in Middle School. So he's been doing like a chapter every other day and answering the questions. Lucy has a little bit of her Singapore math left and a few stories in her last reader for language arts, and then she will be done as well. It's so nice when you get to the end of the year. It really is. But because we are year-round homeschoolers, we will continue to do school in May and June, but it will be all interest-led learning and them working on passion projects. I downloaded a series of like educational workshops for Unreal Engine that Jack has been working through, and I'm not sure what Emma is working on besides just finishing up her school. I'm sure that as we get closer to May, she will have more projects that she will want to work on. Mainly, she has been doing animation and Adobe, making her own rigs, which is making all the movements of the characters on the screen. So she's been working on that. I don't really understand the animation stuff, but she's doing a good job. So that is kind of our March update, as well as some of the books that I was reading to the kids. Now I'm going to talk about some of the books that Emma and Jack read. Jack read a lot this month, and he was really mainly doing books that he wanted to read on his own. Like I've said in the past couple of homeschool monthly update videos, Jack finished all of the assigned reading that I had for him for the year in the fall. So that was challenging, and I really haven't had time to sit down and write out new books for him to do. I am focusing on next year and trying to make sure that he has more books on his list, because he is a fast reader, and if he's enjoying a book, he will read it in 2 days. So I need to make sure that I have a longer list for him for next year. It should be interesting to do that. We shall see. So Jack keeps track of his reading in this reading journal from Erin Condren. I think I did a walkthrough of this in a Star Wars Christmas unboxing, maybe. I will leave a link if I can find it, but it's really great. It has a reading log where you can list all of the books and the date and how many pages it is, the title, what month. And then there's also little review sections, which I really like. It has the date, title, author, how I read this book, new words, my favorite part, what I think about this book, and then a place to draw a picture or write a little review, which I am having him fill one of these pages out for all of the books that he's reading, just because they're not books that I have assigned him. So this month he read, let's see, so in February he started the Greystone Secrets series. He read The Strangers, and then I bought him the next 2 books on that series, The Messengers, and he hasn't written down the other one. I will leave a picture of the 2 books. He really liked that series. The first one was a summer reader, and he read that in February and then really wanted to continue with the series, so I got him the second 2 books. Then he read some Choose Your Own Adventure Oregon Trail books. The first one was Oregon Trail Gold Rush, then Danger at the, I can't read his writing. He's crammed in the word because there wasn't a whole lot of space. So again, I will leave a picture. And then The Search for Snake River, he also read. Then he started on the Warriors series. I don't know a lot about these books. He's read a few in the past, or a couple in the past. So he read Fire and Ice, Forest of Secrets, and Rising Storm. Those were some other books that he read this month. And we've been going to the library more often, and he's trying to get more books out so that he has stuff to read, because that's pretty much what he's been doing in his free time, is reading when he's not working on programming stuff on the computer. But he has enjoyed all of these books, and all of these books have been really quick reads for him. They're all middle grade, I think, novels. So if your kids are interested, those are some ideas. Then for Emma, she has actually read quite a few books, and I'm going to have to go ask her what some of those books were. I know that for school she read Shakespeare's Secret. She really liked this book. I don't really have a review of it because I did not read it, but she gave this 5 stars. And then the next book was Enchantress from the Stars. She definitely liked this book as well. She has enjoyed all of the readers from Level J that she has done. They've all been sort of mystery and fantasy, and that is definitely her jam. Similar to me, I love all of the fantasy and mystery. So it has been a really good reading year for her. Emma also read a book called The Nightingale from a local author, and I can't remember the author's name, but I will leave a picture here so that you can see that book. She really liked that. She read the last two Fairy Tale Reform School books, which I think are Wished and Cursed. She really liked that whole series. She finished Beyond the Bright Sea, which is a book one of her friends had given her for Christmas. She also read the fourth Warriors book. Similar to Jack, they both like that book series. And right now she is reading Echo, which is another one of the books from Sunlight J. And she's finishing up A Teacher's Funeral, which is another reader that she has for Sunlight J. So she read a lot of books this month. She did start Lord of the Rings as well, but that is a much slower book for her to read through. Yeah, but she had a really good reading month. She has been staying up very late reading. Very, very late. But overall, she liked all of the books that she has read. And once we get towards the end of the year, when we're kind of finished with most of our assigned reading, well, for Emma, obviously Jack has already finished, there's a lot more time for individual reading as well, and my kids love reading, so that is really good. Now, for me, I actually had a much lighter month reading this month. Usually, I know that looks like a lot of books, but it's not as many as I have been reading on a monthly basis. And part of that is because I was doing so much research for books for school for the kids. And so I wasn't reading. I was listening to a lot of audiobooks. So I did a lot of audiobooks this month, which I still count as reading. I feel like you're still reading when you're reading an audiobook. I know that some people don't think that, but I do. And I tend to listen to audiobooks while I'm cleaning, while I'm working on big projects, all of that kind of stuff. Anything where I don't have to be fully focused on something, I will listen to an audiobook because I enjoy reading. And so it's a way for me to continue reading even if I'm doing something else. It also helps to pass the time. You know, it's much better to like listen to an audiobook or watch a movie while you are doing your filing, which is one of the things that I did during my week off of homeschool, than just doing that one task. So when I was doing my planning for the end of the year and just figuring out what we had left to do, I would listen to an audiobook. And when I was working on my big projects, I was listening to an audiobook. But I didn't really have a lot of new books to read this month. I wasn't really sure what to read. I've been going through a fantasy phase recently in January and February, but I kind of hit a roadblock and couldn't find any new books that I wanted to really dive into. I like long series, but I like series that are already completed so that I don't have to wait. I did read two physical books that were really, really good, totally different ones. The first was this Hero Education. This is a nonfiction homeschooling book, obviously, and it is all about the scholar phase of learning. So the scholar phase is like 13 to 18, I think, or 14 to 18, and that is the phase that Emma is going into. It talks a lot about learning through discussion and reading the classics, and that is how people were taught up until very recently in history. The public school system, while everybody may think that it has been around forever, it hasn't, and the origins of the public school system are really interesting. Anyways, I definitely recommend this book, even if you do not identify with Thomas Jefferson education or feel like literature-based learning is what works best for your family. A lot of the information in here was super helpful, and there are a lot of book lists, again, about different books that you should read each year, how to organize your scholar phase, what that actually is. It was very, very helpful for me because, like I said at the beginning, I was so stressed going into March trying to figure out what we wanted to do this next year for Emma, and really feeling like my original plan got kind of put on the back burner. I did more research and realized it wasn't the direction that we wanted to go in. And so that was stressful. This gave me a lot of encouragement and helped me sort of process through a lot of my ideas and give me encouragement. And as you're going into high school, I feel like even as somebody who has been homeschooling for so long, you start to doubt yourself a little bit more because you're like, this is it, you know, we are on the path to the end. And obviously I want to make sure that my kids can get into college, into a college that they want to go to, if that is the direction that they choose to go in. So yes, I definitely recommend this if you have kids that are going into high school, are in high school, early high school, even late high school, you know, just so that you are able to have a little bit of encouragement when you're starting your planning. The other book that I was the first Crescent City book. House of Earth and Blood, I think is what it's called. Now I can't remember. Yes, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I really, really, really liked that book. It was so good. It was super confusing, like the first couple hundred pages. There were so many characters and so many names that I did not know what was going on. And this was only the second book that I have read by Sarah J. Maas. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I know that she has a few different series, and I was worried that I had picked up a book that may have not, that was the first in a new series, but I thought it might be related to one of the other worlds that she has created, because some of the wording, it was almost like an assumption that you knew, or it made me question whether or not I knew what was going on. So I did have to Google a few things just to make sure that I was not losing my mind. But once I got into the book after a couple hundred pages, it was so good. I think it was over 800 pages, so it's a long book. I really, really liked it. I really want to read the second book, but the third book doesn't come out until 2023, and I don't even know if it comes out at the beginning of 2023 or the end. And like I said before, I like to be able to finish a series. I don't like to wait around for a book to be published, so I do want to read the next book a lot, but usually the second book in a 3-book series tends to be my least favorite, and so I think I'm going to hold off. But if you like fantasy series, I really liked this one. I really liked this book a lot, and it actually made me want to maybe go back to A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read the first book and I really liked it, but then I didn't like some of the changes that the author made for the rest of the series, which I'm impatient and I tend to read reviews before I read books sometimes, and that gives me spoilers, of course. So I didn't continue on with the series, but I think I might go back and listen to A Court of Thorns and Roses just to familiarize myself with the world again, and then go on to read the last 3 books in that series, and maybe I will have a better time with the rest of the series, because I do really enjoy her writing. So that is my update for March. We are at the end of our year. I'm super excited to be finishing up. I'm really excited to start deep diving into the new books for next year. That's kind of what's pushing me through to finish this year, so that I can really start going through all of the new books and making some plans, which I don't do until June usually, but I do usually have all of my curriculum so that when my kids are at VBS in June volunteering and attending, I can take that time to make sure I have all of my plans ready for our new homeschool year. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about anything that I talked about, you can always leave them in the comments or send me an email. My contact form is always in the description box. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.